Hello friends, we're back with another video. Wisdom of Sea and Sky is about to come to an end for Pokemon TCG Pocket, and we're about to get a new set coming. So I felt like I wanted to do a tier list to kind of go over the cards that we received from the latest sets. It was a very interesting season. It wasn't fully meta ground shifting, although the best deck in the game ended up being built off of the cards off of Wisdom, Sea, and Sky. So, you know, it could be considered a pretty good set. Overall, I think the set is about mid-tier when it comes to how much changes were made in the meta through the cards from the actual set. But yeah, let's rank some of these cards in the tier list to see how actually impactful this set was in the actual meta, even though there is one main card that kind of, I don't want to say it changed everything, but it did end up being the best card. And it's funny that it wasn't even the most anticipated card. I think most of you would know that there was leaks that came out before the season, and so people already had early speculation of what cards to look out for and which packs to open to get those cards. And I fell for the trap to open the wrong packs to get certain cards which I thought were going to be the meta, and we were wrong. Yeah, so why don't we just right away, let me just put the best card in the game, or best card that came out from the sets. It is Espeon EX, and like I said, with the leaks, people kind of got it wrong, and this was the card that people were the most wrong about, including myself. We all thought that Espeon wasn't going to be that good because it just didn't do too much damage. It only did 80 damage, and we grossly underestimated how much 30 healing per turn is. I thought it was weak. I was like, oh, that's it. But one thing I didn't know was that it could heal the Pokemon on the bench as well. And that was huge because now, obviously Greninja was the top deck in the season before, and now Espeon pretty much killed that deck. Yeah, you didn't really see much Greninja. The Greninja, Sylveon, Giratina deck was pretty much put down because of Espeon. And Espeon kind of put down a lot of decks because chip damage didn't matter anymore because Espeon would just heal through it. And with Sylveon, you'd be able to fight your Espeon so quick. It's honestly the most consistent deck, and that's why it's so good. Because honestly, on paper, it doesn't seem that good. Like only hitting 80 for damage, only hitting 80, and that's your main mon. It doesn't seem that good, but it's just because it's so consistent. It rarely bricks, and you're just always healing away. That with having a giant cape to make it not one-hit KOable by a lot of different cards made it so good, and it's easily the #1 deck that came out of the ranked meta for this one. Now I'll just kind of go in order here. I put a bunch of cards from the set. I just want to get the Espeon out of the way because obviously that was the most important card out of the set. So the first card I got out of here, I kind of organized this. I was just picking cards out of from the typing. Also, I'm only gonna, since there's like 200 cards, I'm only gonna go through the cards that I feel like were somewhat played, or at least doing the EXs. So Shuckle is the first one. D tier. He is not good. I think what makes Shuckle not good is that there's just no help with grass right now. The best deck obviously is Buzzwole. The best grass deck is Buzzwole, and there's just no room to put a Shuckle there. Shuckle on its own, it's kind of an okay tank, but if you don't even get it in your opening hand, it's completely useless. So Shuckle does 20 damage. You flip 3 coins and it does 20 damage for each heads. So you honestly have a chance to hit for 0. That, and it only has 120 HP. So its ability is decent. It takes 20 less damage from attacks, but having only 120 HP and it's an EX, so it gives up 2 prize points, is actually pretty bad. Maybe in the future, they'll find a way to input Shuckle because it's happened before where cards that were irrelevant at the beginning ended up becoming relevant after. But right now, Shuckle is just in a really bad spot, and there's just no place for Shuckle in any grass deck. The fact that it would have been better if it didn't take 1 grass energy to use the attack, then maybe you could input it into different decks. But right now, the fact that it does need that 1 grass energy is just honestly almost unusable. So next card is Typhlosion. Honestly, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. I could see it coming in the meta in the future. Having a free burn is actually really good. It's just that it sucks that you do have to use up a rare candy for the occasion. I am gonna put it somewhere in C tier. Let me see how much health it has. Because it does, I'm sure it's gonna have a place in the meta. Yeah, 140 HP is not bad, especially it's a 1 prize pointer. 60 damage kind of sucks, but 2 energy is pretty good for the attack, and just the fact that you get to free burn from your bench is actually pretty solid. So I'm interested to see where Typhlosion goes in the meta. You could see maybe it's gonna be paired with Entei, since it's not too energy hungry, so you could still put all your energy on Entei and have Typhlosion in the back. But having the extra burn, doing an extra 20 damage is really good every single time without using any energy. So when you think of it, it's kind of like Darkrai where you're getting consistent pings. You can end up doing even more than 20 if they end up flipping tails on the burn. So Typhlosion, like it almost feels like a B tier for me, but no one was able to find a way to input it into a deck where it's actually viable to do really well. So for now, for this season, I'm gonna put it in C tier. We have Magcargo. I'm gonna put this, once we start filling it up, I could kind of adjust it, but this is like bottom of B tier for me, top of C tier. It's somewhere there. Honestly, it's such a troll card, but I have to give it its respect because people are actually able to win with it. And you know what? The most valuable part about Magcargo is that it can get you wins really quickly. In ranked, everyone's kind of grinding it out really hard, and I'm an advocate that like using slow decks like Snorlax, Ho-Oh is just not good when you're trying to grind ranked because it's too slow, so you're gaining points way too slow. With Magcargo, it's almost a 50-50 if you're gonna win, but at least you're finishing these games within 2 minutes, so you can just grind out and pump out games. I know a lot of the Japanese players were actually using Magcargo for a bit just because you're able to grind out the games really quickly, and it's pretty brain dead. So if you're tired of thinking really hard, you could just end up using Magcargo to go through games really quickly as a break for your mind, you know what I mean, and still hopefully gain some points. So I don't know if Magcargo is ever gonna be fully meta, but it's definitely the best troll deck that you can make. Because a lot of people do troll decks and like YouTube content decks, and Magcargo is the only one that you could kind of pop off and get a win with, to be honest. So the next card is Ho-Oh. I am gonna give this at the bottom of A. I think Ho-Oh was actually better than I thought it was gonna be. When they first released the card for Ho-Oh and you got to see what it did, I was a little skeptical because it is great that you generate 3 energy, but I was like, you have to put 3 energy on it to begin with, so what's the point of putting the 3 energy on the Ho-Oh when you could just put the 3 energy on someone else at the same time? But the best part about Ho-Oh is that if you get 2 attacks in, then you're generating 6 energy, which is like insane. And you're giving, if you're pairing it with Lugia, that's 2 KOs, automatic KOs, and you pretty much win the game. Also, what makes Ho-Oh so good is it is 3 energy, but if you're able to get that Magby or Pichu in the opening spot and you get second turn, this Ho-Oh is ready to go on your second turn. So that's what ended up making it really good. And a lot of the top decks that you're able to use this season actually incorporated Ho-Oh. So I do have to give it its respect. I was definitely wrong to begin with. I didn't think Ho-Oh would be as good as it is, and I feel like it's going to be a card that could work with a lot of decks in the future just because energy generation is just, besides drawing cards, energy generation is like the second best type of card you could have. So I could definitely see it being paired with something. It could get paired with Entei next season actually, since Entei needs like, what is it, like 4 energy I think to do like a big attack. Yeah, the next card we're going to talk about is Kingdra. Kingdra is like top of C tier. I could see it maybe, honestly on paper, it seems pretty good. It seems pretty good, like it only takes 2 energy and it does 90 damage, I believe. I think it's a pretty good card, but it just hasn't gotten its way into the meta. 170 HP is pretty good. Unfortunately, it is stage 2, so when you compare it to other stage 2s, it's not that great. I think it doesn't do too well right now because Lightning is so popular right now with Oricorio decks. So that definitely hurts Kingdra a lot. But it has like a pretty good ability, you know, them not being able to retreat is really good. And with the Horsey from the promo event, you're able to snipe someone on the bench for 10. So with Kingdra, that paired up with Kingdra, you could Cyrus someone in, and they're kind of stuck there. And hitting for 90 is not that bad. It's not that bad at all. You're gonna two-shot pretty much almost anyone. So it seems pretty good. It's not good enough. There are just too many broken cards out there that this one is like, it's a balanced card. And being balanced is just not good enough when there's so many good-ass cards that you could end up playing instead. So that's why I think it's just top of C tier. Maybe we could end up getting it in the future, make it become meta in the future if it gets paired up with something else. Next, let's talk about Crawdon. This is like very, very niche. I'm putting it here just because I think it has a chance to maybe get in the meta. I just know that I've played against some people that use Crawdon and it ended up being really good. If you don't know, the ability is when you evolve into Crawdon, you're able to take out an energy from someone, which is extremely valuable. That's pretty much winning a turn, like getting a turn back. Especially if you've played games where you get grindcore and you lose an energy, sometimes that makes you literally lose the game. Oftentimes you're one turn away from winning, and losing an energy is losing a turn, and that could be the turn that could have won you the game. So getting rid of energy is extremely powerful, and I feel like it might have a way to get into the meta. It's just hard to put the cards in because it isn't just a basic, so you can't just put it down, and that's the ability. The next card we're going to talk about, wow, how can I forget the name? Swablu? Swanna. Yeah, so Swanna is around the same tier. I'd put it above Crawdon, somewhere in like the mid C tier. I feel like we haven't tapped into it yet, but I know I've seen some people pair it with other cards, and it feels pretty good. So you move all energy from this Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon, and it has 0 retreat. So this is a pretty good Pokemon to start off with. It's only 1 prize point, which is great. And being able to move your energy into someone that you're building up on the bench is really strong. I just think that they haven't figured out a way to pair this with someone that's the best just yet. But it's just a really very interesting card, and it's something that we haven't exactly seen before. So it's very interesting, and I think that this could be paired well with something in the future. We just haven't figured out the secret sauce yet to make it work, but I'm gonna put my investment stocks that this might actually become something that'd be somewhat meta in the future. It does suck that it is also stage 1, but honestly, like, it's just really cool. This is like, what's his name? What's that? There's an EX card with the monkey that transfers the energy, but what sucks about him is that he's an EX, so he gives up 2 prize points. But this one is just a non-EX, so you don't have to give up the 2 prize points if you get knocked out. But being able to move all your energy to your bench Pokemon, which you're building up, is pretty strong. But for now, we're gonna put it somewhere in like mid C tier. Okay, let's talk about Pichu. Pichu, definitely S tier. When the cards got leaked and we were seeing the baby Pokemon come out, there was a big debate whether it's worth it to have something that is pretty much a free point. But it turns out that it was super worth it. It's super worth it to give up that single point, because you could honestly insta-win if you get the baby Pokemon in the starting position, especially if you get turn 2. Even if you get turn 1, it's not that bad. It's not that bad at all because you're getting a free energy attachment. And depending on the Pokemon, it could work really well. For example, with Silvally, if you get turn 1 and you put that energy on, then you could be already attacking with Silvally for 100 on your second turn if you get the first turn, if you get that baby Pokemon at the start. I might as well put Magby there too. So Magby's pretty much the same. It doesn't matter which energy it's generating. It's still generating an energy, and a lot of decks that these were used with, it didn't rely on specifically lightning or fire, because a lot of Pokemon's attacks can use a 1 colorless energy anyways. But yeah, these 2 Pokemon have definitely changed the game, and I'm very happy that there was something that was kind of meta shifting in this. Now that I'm talking about the baby Pokemon, I'm actually kind of changing my mind about how strong this entire set was, because this was meta shifting. It opened up so many different opportunities for new decks. There are so many different decks. Like, I never thought I was gonna see a Darkrai paired up with Silvally, but because of the Pichu deck, it it opened up those doors. I might as well put another baby Pokemon there. Let's talk about Tyrogue. I don't want to put Tyrogue in S tier. I'll put it. Do I put it above Ho-Oh? It's definitely somewhere in A. I think it was a little more valuable than Ho-Oh, only because of it being strong against Eevee and Oricorio, which are two of the most like popular cards that you'll see in ranked. Tyrogue, especially paired with Darkrai, it hit really hard. It hit really hard. The fact that you don't have to put any energy on Tyrogue to hit for essentially 40 when you get the weakness on them is actually very, very valuable. I don't think it's just as valuable and versatile as Pichu and Magby, but Tyrogue ended up being a really, really strong card. It was very, it's just so good for counterplay. It was amazing for counterplay, and I'm surprised I didn't see it more, to be honest. I think just because fighting decks weren't as strong as they should have been. It's crazy because it should be so strong because Eevee is so popular and Oricorio is so popular, so you'd think that fighting decks would be on top, but the problem is the fighting decks, like, there isn't just an elite deck out of it, that it became hard. Even though it's a very good counter deck, it's just still not that strong, and I think that might be on purpose, to be honest, because if they made a really, really strong fighting deck, then it would be meta because it's so strong against so many different things. And with that being said, let's talk about like Donphan. Donphan is like bottom of B. I wish Donphan was better. I really wish Donphan was better. Again, it's a good counter pick against the current meta, but the problem is that it's just not that good of a card. It only has 160 health, I believe, and you're hitting for 150 for most of the time, and when you get 3 energy, which is a lot, you're only hitting for 110, which is really, really small. I wish they buffed Donphan to be like, I don't know if it would be broken if it had 180 health and maybe 120 damage when it's 3 energy, but it doesn't hit as hard as you need it to hit, and you kind of just get chipped away. And while you're trying to build the 3 energy on Donphan, if you get knocked out, then you lose all the 3 energy and it's kind of useless, and you have nothing left on the bench with any energy to go with. So at first I thought Donphan was gonna be better than where it ended up at the end of the season. But I think there's a place for Donphan in the future when they release just a better fighting card. Because right now fighting is kind of in a weird position, but again, I said they might be doing that on purpose just because it's so strong against a lot of the meta cards. But yeah, also like Hitmontop is pretty good too. I'm gonna put it around the same as actually, you know what? It's better than Donphan. It's more versatile. So Hitmontop hits for 20 in the active spot and 20 on the bench. This was a very good stable for a lot of the fighting decks, especially with Lucario and Marshadow. Being able to snipe for the 20 is amazing. This is pretty much a Pheromosa. It's a fighting Pheromosa. He's pretty bulky, has 80 health. Hitmontop is definitely going to be a staple in the future. The fact that it's a basic, so you can just put it down and start attacking, is really, really good. Unfortunately, when it's not the first card you put out, it's kind of useless. So you just gotta pray that you do get it in your opening hand. But yeah, I could definitely see Hitmontop being a card that you're gonna see a lot in the future with fighting decks, because it's just very, very versatile, and you could put it into like pretty much any fighting deck and it will do well. Lantern. It's crazy because Lantern, it seems so good on paper, but I don't know, there's just something about it that's just not good enough. I feel like it is because it's 3 energy for its attack. So you definitely need Pichu to help generate it. It does suck too that stage 1, so you can't just put it down right away. But the fact that even if you flip tails, you get to do something, like it still affects the opponent, is not that bad. Let me see how much it does. Does it only do 90, I think? It only does 80. So yeah, that's so unfortunate that it only hits for 180, and the retreat is 2. This is so unlike a lightning Pokemon that has 2 retreat. I guess because the ability is so strong. This paired with Will, if you have space for Will in it, is pretty strong. So you pretty much are guaranteed to hit for 160, which is really good when you think about it. So when you pair it with Will, it kind of makes more sense, but unfortunately that means you're just using more deck space just to hit for that 160. But for 3 energy and you have to get Will, and it's a stage 1, so it's not even guaranteed that you'll find it right away. I think that's what makes it so weak, or you could call it balanced, because on paper, like, it seems like it could be really good. Lightning is just in a weird spot right now where it's not as strong as the other ones besides Oricorio. I think they're just scared to make a very strong Lightning EX because paired with Oricorio, it's going to become too overbearing. So that's why Lantern is kind of like extremely balanced and not crazy. Like I really thought it was 90 damage at first, but 80 is like, it's really light. So you're not really hitting for much. You gotta hope you hit heads. The tails isn't too bad. Like I said, no matter what you flip, it's gonna be okay. But obviously if you hit heads, that's when you get the real value out of it. But Lantern, who knows if we're gonna see it in the future in the meta. It could just end up dying after this set. So yeah, I would put it on top of C. I'd put it a bit above King Giraffe. I've seen Lantern a lot more often. All right, let's talk about Xatu. Oh, Xatu is an interesting one. It's so funny how this is one of the most controversial cards when it first came out, and we had no idea where we'd be able to put it. Man, I think it's just freaking terrible. I'll put it bottom middle of C tier. Like I think Typhlosion has more value out of it. So the problem with Xatu is that there's too many cards to set it up to make it work. To make it work where you're one hit KOing, you need to get to Xatu, you need a will, and then you need the Typhlosion or that other, what's a card called? That card that could poison off the bench as well. Like there's just too many moving parts to get one KO. Maybe it's gonna be more valuable when the Megas come out because the Megas have so much of a health pool that maybe that's when Xatu is gonna find its value. But what I hate about Xatu is that if you flip tails, you get nothing. Like I wish it actually even hit for like 30 if it hit for tails or something, but the fact that if you flip tails, you just get no value at all is just so bad. He also doesn't have that much health either, so he's pretty squishy. Yeah, at 80 HP on stage 1, it's so squishy. I get it. They had to balance it out some way because it is technically a very, very strong ability, but man, Xatu ended up being so bad. People like were hyping it up so much and it just ended up being pretty useless. Like I don't even think people use it in Great Ball, to be honest. It's just not a good card, and I don't know if we're gonna see it used in the future. We'll see how it goes when the Megas come out. Maybe people are gonna end up using Xatu as the counter for it. But right now in this set, it was pretty much unusable in the meta. Like it was just not a good card. Crobat. Let's talk about Crobat. I'm gonna put Crobat at the very, very, very top of D tier. Crobat was a card I thought was gonna be the best card to come out of the set, to be honest. For only one energy, hitting for 70 plus the poison, it seemed very strong, and it is very strong. It's just that other cards are just better and more consistent. The fact that it's stage 2 made it more difficult. Because even with the help of Sylveon, first of all, if you're using the Sylveon, you're using up deck space to get the EVs and the Sylveon in there just to find your Crobat. And by that time, you're kind of wasting deck space and you can't add like the Jellyfish or Darkrai to help complement the Crobat. So you're kind of just using it to find Crobat. And the problem with that is Crobat's not a sweeper. It doesn't hit for hard enough. It does have a lot of HP. But if you're gonna bank on getting a stage 2 Pokemon, you want something like Charizard that could sweep. Because if you're hoping to find all the pieces to get Crobat going, and then you're only hitting for 70 or with the poison like 80 to 90, it's just not enough and not worth it. So it really seemed so good on paper at first because obviously you could luck out and get first turn and then you evolve into Crobat right away and then you probably win the game. But you could say that about pretty much any stage 2 Pokemon, to be honest. If you evolve right away, you win the game. But there's just better stage 2 Pokemon out there to kind of put your chips on. Maybe Crobat could be better in the future, but right now, it's decent. You could get wins in Master Ball. This is actually the deck that got me right into Master Ball from the get-go. But there's just something missing. There's just something missing that doesn't make it like as good as it needs to be. And I think that's just the damage output and the fact that it's not the most consistent deck that you could play as. So let's talk about the card that people thought might have been the best card. It's Umbreon. Umbreon is really so underwhelming. I'm gonna put it at the top of C tier. is crazy because yeah, Umbreon was the card that people thought was gonna be amazing. I think we were just scarred from how good Cyrus was the season before with Greninja. Yeah, Umbreon just did not hit as hard as everyone thought it would. It turns out that we did not need to have a card that gives you a free Cyrus. It's crazy because like, okay, so it has the same health and the same damage as Espeon. So that's why it's so funny how Espeon is so much of a better card just because it heals 30 instead. I guess because with Umbreon, it's not your leading Pokemon because you want someone to snipe at first. I don't know, there's just something about it that it didn't work out. I think it's just missing a good partner. Greninja takes too long, and I don't know if like I've never tried playing double Sylveon, double Umbreon plus Greninja. It's just too many cards. Like it's too many cards to do too little. That's the problem. Like I think with Cyrus, what was so good about Cyrus is that you could Cyrus in someone else to do big damage and you get an instant KO. The problem with Umbreon is that it only hits for 80, so you might Cyrus and not even get that KO to begin with. Yeah, I don't know. We really thought Umbreon was gonna be so good, and it just ended up being extremely underwhelming. And I don't even think I've ever seen anyone run Umbreon in Master Ball at all. It's doable in like the lower ranks, but it just ended up being extremely underwhelming, which is kind of sad because Umbreon's a super cool Pokemon and the full art's really nice, but it just didn't end up being really good. Tyranitar. See, this card was actually pretty good, and I think it has a chance to find its way. I think near the end of the season, people are starting to figure out the secret sauce with Tyranitar. I think a lot of people ended up using it with Darkrai, but I recently saw someone pair it with Guzzlord, and it was working well with Guzzlord with Lusamine. The Lusamine's great because you could just put that on someone on your bench, like if you have a jellyfish on the bench, and then you could power up your Tyranitar that way. But the fact that it's a one-pointer is extremely good. 130 damage is great. 160 health is really good too. And once you kind of get over it being 4 energy and just hopefully managing everything else to transfer the energy on it, it's just really good. It's actually really, really good. I just think it's a very hard deck to manage with the energy, and you got to be very smart. You cannot waste any of the energy from the other Pokemon. You have to be thinking way ahead of time. So I think that's why it's not as popular, but I think as people get better with using this deck, I think it's going to be pretty decently strong, and I think it could actually get play and competitive. Especially when we get more cards, there might be a way to, like once we get Dark Generation, there's probably going to be something to help generate Dark energy. And once that happens, like Tyranitar could be like A tier at the end of that. But for now, I'll put it at the bottom of B. I think it has a ton of potential, and I think people are really starting to tap into it. Steelix. I think Steelix is like the middle of C tier, somewhere here. I actually really like Steelix, to be honest. I think why I liked it was because I was happy that you could finally use Brock. But Steelix with like Steel Apron and the supporting cards like with Jasmine, it's really bulky. It's extremely bulky at 150 with all those supporting cards helping it take a lot of damage. And hitting for 110 is not bad. It does suck that it's 4 energy, but the fact that it's colorless energy and then you have things like Brock, hell, you could even incorporate like a Magby or a Pichu to help generate it. It's really strong. I like it so much. I just feel like we haven't figured it out just yet, but I feel like it will never be an S tier deck, but I feel like it could be a really strong content deck, like a YouTube deck, if people just find the perfect sauce with it. Because I think pairing it with Skarmory was decent to begin with, but it's a pretty decent card. I think with extra support, there might be a way to make this really good. But it is one of the most fun decks I had playing with this. It's just, yeah, we need to find the perfect partner for Steelix to kind of utilize it at its best. Steel definitely still needs help. Steel's always kind of been weak. So we'll see how the future goes for it. Skarmory. Skarmory's another card that like seems pretty good, but it just falls short. I am gonna put it above Umbreon though, at the top of C. Skarmy does really well against people that don't hit too hard. Like Espeon. It's actually funny because Skarmy does really well against Espeon. It just does really bad against everyone else. And if you don't find like your Jasmine and your Steel Apron, then it kind of loses its sauce. It doesn't have that much health because it would be broken otherwise. Yeah, it only has 140 health, but the fact that it does -20 and then you can use things like Jasmine, how much does she reduce? Reduce 50. Dude, these cards are actually crazy if you're able to pair it. It's just that it doesn't do too much damage, it only does 70. Thankfully, it's only 2 energy. But Skarmory ended up being pretty good. It was better than I thought it would be. Especially because Charizard wasn't as meta anymore, so you're able to get away with a lot more. If Charizard was super meta, then Skarmory would definitely be like, there's no question you cannot use it at all. But I think because a lot of the decks ended up being not as hard hitting, like it ended up being kind of good. I like Skarmory. I think it has a chance to be pretty good. But for now, I'm gonna put it like at top of C. Definitely better than Umbreon. I saw it played a lot more than Umbreon. Lugia. I think Lugia has so much potential. I'm gonna put it at the bottom of A. I think Ho-Oh, you can't run Lugia without the Ho-Oh, to be honest, for the most part, unless you're crazy. But the fact that Lugia hits for 180 is very, very strong. It sweeps out like 95% of the cast. You could almost call it 100% because no one really runs Venusaur, and then you'd have to have a cape on it. And then, yeah, it wipes out pretty much everyone except Venusaur. I think so. But yeah, Lugia hitting for 180 is amazing. It's just, whenever I tried running a Lugia deck, it's so rare that you get that perfect hand where you get a Pichu or Magby in the start to power up a Ho-Oh, and then you still have to worry about getting a Lugia. So you need so many pieces and so many things to go right for Lugia to happen. But otherwise, it would be so broken if it was easy to set up because you're sweeping for 180 off of one Ho-Oh attack powering it up. I could see it maybe working in the future. We'll see. I think it's pretty strong though. But it just needs something else. Even with Elemental Switch, like, there was a lot of cards that kind of helped it out, but it still didn't work too well. But I'll still put it at bottom of A because it did become a little bit meta, and I think it does strong against things like Espeon, which heal off chip damage. So if you're able to just one-shot an Espeon, it's great. Speaking of Elemental Switch, this was a really good card. I'm gonna put it at the top of A. Pretty much this just made Dawn, it didn't make Dawn useless, but since Fire, Water, and well, not Water, but Lightning and Fire were so common, this just became such a good card because it's an item and you could use 2 in the same turn. This was a staple for Arceus decks. It's really good with Flareon, and it's gonna be so flexible in future decks. So I could see it being used so often in the future. Like, it's just such a strong card. And if you were crazy enough to add it with Dawn, you could transfer 3 energy at the same time. But Elemental Switch was a great card, and I use this a lot with a lot of decks. Especially with energy generation, with the babies. Just in case you're not drawing the perfect hand, Elemental Switch like saves you from that, because then you could move that energy later on to the Pokemon that you want. Steel Apron, it's a really good card, but the problem is that there's not that many steel cards, so like you could put on Solgaleo. In some cases, it's better than leftovers for Solgaleo. I think if Poison, it's funny because Poison is strong right now with Guzzlord and Crobat, and the issue is that there's just not enough steel support, and it's not in its way in its meta. But I could see Steel Apron being a pretty good tool in the future if we get some better steel cards. Dark Pendant, it's so interesting because I really thought it'd be better. I just think there's no space. With 20 cards in a deck, it's really difficult to fit anything because it's a very strong effect. So Dark Pendant, when you get hit, if you take damage from an attack, you're able to choose a random card gets chosen from your opponent and it gets put back into the deck, which is very strong. That's pretty much, it's like a mini Mars for every turn that you get attacked. It seems so strong. I just think people aren't able to fit it into their decks. But if you're creating a deck that's like full of disruption, bunch of red cards, bunch of silvers, bunch of Mars, and you add a Dark Pendant, I think it could be really strong, to be honest. It's just that there's just too many good cards to fit in and good tools. Like Rocky Helmet and Cape are always going to be the top two, right? So it's really tough to fit in a Dark Pendant. And the fact that you could only put it on Dark Pokemon too, like that's what makes it also not as good and not as flexible. If you could put it on any card, would that be even broken if that was the case? But for now, like it's tough. It's tough to fit it. Rescue Scarf, I don't like Rescue Scarf. I'm gonna put it in the bottom D. I might eat my words later on, but I just feel like it's too niche and there's not a time where you like really need it. And like I said, when we're talking about Dark Pendant, like there's not enough room in your deck to be fitting a Rescue Scarf. I don't feel like it's just not flexible enough, and there's no point. It's not good enough of a card and good enough of a tool to put on a Pokemon where you could fit it in your deck. At times I've used it or tried to use it in a deck, I always felt like it just didn't help me out at all, and you can get so much more value from different tools, you know what I mean? Yeah, but who knows in the future, like it could be very valuable in the future maybe, but right now like I just didn't see it being valuable at all, and I didn't see anyone really running it well too. But yeah, let's go on to Will. We'll see in the future, no pun intended, but damn, Will's actually low-key so good. I'm gonna put him in the top of B. I think we just haven't figured it out just yet how to utilize him. But damn, a Will with a Guzzlord kind of went crazy near the end of the season. That guaranteed heads, like Executor ended up turning up really good. Like a guaranteed 150 is really strong. And obviously coin flips are gonna be more common, or I mean, there's gonna be more cards that incorporate coin flips. So we could end up seeing Will being a staple in the future for sure, because he has a really strong ability. It's a very strong ability. I just think that there hasn't been an extremely meta card that has to deal with coin flips just yet. But you never know. I still think it's very strong with Guzzlord though. Like it literally wins you games. And I feel like if you're able to take away 2 energy as Guzzlord, you almost insta win the game, to be honest. And Will already guarantees you 1, so you're almost 50% chance to like win the game just right then and there. But yeah, Will's really good. Will's very strong. Lyra I feel like is also very strong. I'll put it before Crobat. Yeah, Lyra's really strong as well. I think people haven't, because it's not that common, people don't counterplay it because they're not unsure if Lyra's even gonna appear. But it's really strong. It's arguably better than Leaf. That's the tough thing, choosing between Lyra and Leaf. Obviously, if you're dealing with a Pokemon that has a lot of a big retreat cost, then Lyra's better. Things like Tyranitar, Guzzlord if you don't have a Celesteela. Using on Lugia and Ho-Oh is also really good. Obviously, Lyra was a staple for Dragonite. So if Dragonite ever becomes meta, Lyra's stocks will go up. But Lyra was a very nice addition to the set. And it'll probably find its way into the meta somehow. Silver, definitely S tier. And people are getting better with Silver. I think a lot of people were utilizing it wrong. So with Silver, in my opinion, the best way to use it, 2 ways. Either at the very beginning, 3 ways actually. Else 3 ways to use Silver. I think the number 1 way is using Silver late game. In times where you know that if the next turn the opponent has a certain card like a Cyrus or a Lily, they could win if they have that card. A Silver is your counter to stop that from happening. There's been so many times where I'm 1 turn away from winning, but if they Cyrus me on their next turn, I end up losing. If you Silver at that time and you get rid of their Cyrus, now you ended up winning the game. That's why it's extremely valuable. Some decks heavily rely on a certain support card as their win condition, whether it be a Cyrus or a Lily, and that's why Silver is so good when you use it at the exact right time. I think people just pull the trigger with Silver way too quick. I think a mid-game silver is like the worst time you could use it. So the best time to use silver, late game, to get rid of a card that you feel like will make you lose. The second best time to use it is at the very, very beginning of the game to get very specifically, if you get first turn and you get silver, you use that silver to get rid of their professor's research. Hopefully get rid of their professor's research on their second, because if they're going second, if they have a research and you get rid of that, that disrupts them really hard. So that would be probably the next best turn to use, next time to use it, using it early. And then the third best time is when you have a red card. the red card silver combo is pretty insane, and that could disrupt them really, really badly. But I think silver using it as late game is so strong. And there's some people that I saw were actually running double silver. So you can kind of flex with using it at the beginning and then using it at the end, or even using both at the end could be very, very strong as well. But silver is like definitely one of the best cards that came in the set, and you're gonna be seeing it a lot. People are gonna jump around that and Mars and red card to see like which one they like as the best disruption card. Arguably silver is better because you could fully get the card that you want to get rid of in their hand. Sometimes you end up Marsing late game in hopes that you do get rid of their Cyrus, and then they end up drawing it anyways. But silver pretty much makes sure that you get rid of that card. Yeah, we're almost done here. I didn't even talk about Gyarados. Where's Gyarados? Why is he not here? Where's the Gyarados? Is this the one? The new Gyarados, if this is it. I'm not too sure if this is it. I think it is though. He's pretty good, but I'll put him above the Umbreon. I think him with the Fisher and Fisherman's Net, it's a fun, super fun like content deck. I don't know if it's ever gonna find its way into meta, but like it's pretty fun to use. The fact that like it's only 2 energy to attack, it's one of the most fun decks you could use. So I just want to throw that in there. It's definitely not meta. I don't think you're gonna ever see it in the meta, but Jasmine, really good card. We just need more support for Steel. But it's only used for certain cards, but like the Jasmine with the Skarmory combo is like really, really strong. Yeah, reducing 50 is actually so good. It's definitely somewhere here. Like I can't put it too high because you just don't use it with meta cards, so it's kind of not that great. Same with Hiker. Hiker is really strong, but it's hard to fit in your deck. But there was someone that showed me a fighting deck, and they said that Hiker was so valuable to them just because they're able to get the cards that they wanted. But it just never saw its play. Yeah, it's just too many good cards to fit in your 20 card deck that like Hiker is just hard to do it. And then the new Eevee. I don't want to put in S tier, but I'm gonna put in high A. It's just ended up being the best Eevee, to be honest. I think Find a Friend is great. Obviously Collect Eevee is really good too, but when you're trying to find your Espeon, this Find a Friend is so goddamn good. You're almost guaranteed to find your Sylveon or Espeon when you use Find a Friend in the beginning. And I have to give it in the high A just because it synergizes so well with the best deck in the game, which is Espeon. Even with the other decks, it's just more valuable to find the monster cards because that's usually what you're trying to find, to be honest. Like besides finding a rare candy, like you're just trying to find your win condition card, which would be your Espeon. But yeah, this is the tier list I have. I don't know if I missed out on any other somewhat meta cards. I don't think so. Like there's some like meme cards like Squirt Bottle and stuff, Chansey, Porygon, but these were the main cards that we got from the set that like saw some type of play. So we have 4 S tier cards, and there's some other baby Pokemon that, there's like, is it Cluffy? Pretty good. Somewhere in A tier. I think Tyrogue is more valuable, but all the baby Pokemon ended up being pretty good except a couple of them like a Smoochum. Elekid might see some play in the future, but I'm happy that baby Pokemon definitely shifted the meta a lot, and we're gonna see it used. There's gonna be even more baby Pokemon released in the next one. So they're really strong. Even though you have to give up a single point, it's worth it at the end of the day to generate that energy really quickly to make things like things like Ho-Oh and Silvally and Flareon, they just end up being so strong once you generate that energy off the bat, and it's just worth it to give it that single point. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, and if you feel like some cards are better than where I placed them, or if there's a card I didn't rank that you feel like should have been ranked up there. But I think I'm pretty comfortable with the S tier and A tier, to be honest. These ones I'm pretty comfortable with. Yeah, S tier, A tier, I feel like these gotta be up there, especially S tier. I feel like Espeon, Pichu, Magby, Silver are the best cards that came out of the set, and they're gonna be used in the future, and they're still gonna be strong. Espeon's still gonna be one of the top decks next season for sure, unless there's gonna be a direct counter to it, but it doesn't seem like it so far. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, and I might be doing more tier lists because this is super fun and it's always good to yap. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts. Take care. Peace.